Hey, it's Caster. I've been a little sick, so I hope you'll excuse the delay. I wanted to start a new series called Why You Should Check Out, for things that I think that are cool or interesting or worth your time. This series will eventually extend beyond anime and manga, but we already have a pretty juicy JJK video, so what better to start with than that? Without further ado, let's dive right in. Before we start, two things. One, this video will be spoiler free. And two, I want to keep these videos positive and engaging, so we will be covering the series' strengths, but if you want a more in-depth analysis and critique, leave a comment below, and I'll definitely consider it. Now, whether you haven't gotten to check out JJK, you've never heard about it, which I feel like is highly unlikely, or you just want to hear someone gas up your favorite series, here's why you should check out JJK. Well, what's JJK about? Itadori Yuji is a high schooler with incredible strength who finds himself thrust into a secret society of sorcerers who fight curses with powers known as curse technique. That is the simplest explanation I could cook up without spoiling anything, so yeah. It sounds pretty simple and straightforward, and it definitely starts that way. But as stories often do, it balloons to insane proportion. It starts off in a shade of gray with a hopeful lining, but progressively ramps up into a much darker story after we pass introduction. Season 2 just ended a couple of weeks ago at the time of me recording this, so currently there is a full prequel movie that is absolutely wonderful, by the way, and 2 full seasons totaling out to 47 episodes. And the manga currently sits at a cool 247 chapters, so there's enough to binge or take in over the course of a few weeks, depending on your preferred method of media consumption. All of this being said, let me break down why I think JJK is worth checking out. Choreography and animation. JJK's animation and fight choreography is absolutely insane. Obviously, with the advent of modern animation, most things nowadays look great, but JJK has some of the smoothest and cleanest animation currently in the game. I would argue that at times, it even rivals Demon Slayer. The colors pop, the motion is clean, it's generally just a joy to watch. But that being said, we can't leave out the choreography. Fights and choreography in the manga are great for manga, but at the end of the day, they're still paneled. But Mappa has gone absolutely above and beyond, not only adding substance to the fights, but the level of depth and detail, the voice work, the music, the smoothness of the animations, the cleanness of the frames, it all comes together in beautiful symmetry. I can't even lie, JJK Season 2 probably had the best animation in 2023, aside from Gear 5, of course. I'm no expert on animation techniques or even art or anything like that, but to me, JJK is peak. Even in the manga, the choreography is great and often clean enough that I can follow what's going on without having to reread it 2 or 3 times. Shout out to Chainsaw Man. But honestly, I think the fights in JJK might be Hall of Fame level. All that being said, I give the choreography and animation a 10 out of 10. The story. Like I said, the story starts off with gray tones and progressively gets darker. And if you're like me, then you'll love that. Gege Akutami is great at subverting expectations and throwing in sleight of hand distractions to keep us guessing just long enough to pull the curtain back and reveal something absolutely insane in a relatively consistent manner. He uses a ton of Japanese lore and mythology and finds a way to tie it into the story while creating these incredibly deep metatones for those that are willing to dig for them. From contrast of modernism to postmodernism to even traditionalism, the tones are there and reflect not just the way that people approach and live their lives, but even the way that the entertainment industry is treated and regarded at times. Some people might say the overall direction of the story is average, but I think it's more than enough to keep me not only entertained, but consistently wanting more and questioning what will happen next. Even going as far as creating multiple theories about things within the story. More theory videos dropping soon. But in turn, actively making me want to engage with the story and the community. So for that, I give it a solid 8 out of 10. Character. In my opinion, Jujutsu Kaisen has great characters and a really entertaining story, but its main draw has to be 2 things. The fights, which we've already discussed, and more importantly, the villain. Now, if you're like me and you're baddie-brained, JJK is an absolute treat for you. It has hands down some of the best, if not the best, rogues gallery of villains in any anime or manga, period. Each one is incredibly fleshed out with their own motivations, machinations, and deeper symbolism. Gege Akutami uses an incredible amount of Japanese mythology and lore to pad out the story, but in doing so, intertwines characters with themes, giving them symbolic significance and a level of depth that really makes certain characters resonate with me. If you like good guys though, there's a pretty solid main cast that, for the most part, feel larger than a typical trope or cliche. Characters that entire portions of the community get behind and argue over. So, to me, that's always a good sign of not only likable characters, but good character writing. Most importantly, I think, when it's a character's moment, that spotlight really shines and almost never falls flat. Even in a recent part of the manga, a character whom I, amongst others, thought wouldn't amount to much was able to still shine like a diamond and create an absolutely insane mini arc. For characters, I'm gonna have to give JJK a 10 out of 10. World building and power system. The world building in JJK is relatively simple because the basis is grounded in modern Japan and sprinkled with historical fictional lore. So it's relatively simple to pick up. But the power system in JJK is really in-depth. Personally, I would argue that it's comparable to even something like Hunter x Hunter, which there are incredibly simple powers and incredibly in-depth ones. But the breakdown and explanations are perfect, so I never feel like I'm not understanding what's going on. The concept of fighting with curses seems relatively simple, but it's flexible enough to allow absolutely wild things to happen, while keeping characters distinct, but not so loose that it breaks the immersion of the story and feel like it doesn't fit. I know there are jokes online about Yap Kaisen, but for lore nerds like me, I absolutely love the level of depth that we go to at times. Please, give us more. With all that being said, for world building and a power system, I'm gonna give JJK a 9 out of 10. I know it was only 4 points, but like I said, I don't want to get too critical or in-depth and spoil anything. Overall, these numbers average JJK out to a 9.25 out of 10, which is incredibly high. If you're on the fence, I hope this video was enough to make you want to check out JJK. Side note, I personally recommend watching the anime. Even if you decide to read the manga, the anime is 100% with your time. No cap, it's absolutely peak. But if you're still not interested, I say read like 10 to 15 chapters of the manga. Just try it out. The pacing is a little bit better, and if you aren't invested by then, it's just not for you. But let me know in the comments if this made you decide to check out JJK, or if you think I should do a more in-depth critical analysis, or even just to say hi. Thanks for watching. But before you go, next time on Why You Should Check Out, we asked the question, why you should check out One Piece.